Good. So the question is, from your point of view, what are some of the solid minerals that, Nigeria basically has right now that we can focus on in order to improve on the economy? That's one. And if I could lay off the back of that, is also giving us an insight into what are some of the needs that can help us improve on those, on delivering more on those explorative opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Said. So Nigeria already I think when in 2016 had identified 7 strategic minerals based on the amount of data available when Dr. Kayode Fayemi came in as minister, I think in 2016, and he developed the mineral and mining roadmap, or the solid mineral roadmap. These minerals that the government identified was iron ore, bitumen, limestone, lead, zinc, coal, gold. How many is that? 7? Have I called 7? Yeah. Iron ore, lead, zinc, bitumen, gold.
That's about 6.
Barytes.
All right, gotcha.
Yes. So these minerals were those that the government identified, but it's stated clearly in the roadmap that that's by no means exhaustive. This list can be updated based on data, based on demand, and all of the other market forces and market indices. Okay. However, it's best to look at the opportunity from mineral classes because of the audience. Now, broadly, these classes are the precious minerals, which is the gemstones. The precious minerals would be your primary and secondary gemstones. For primary gemstones, there's just 4 of them: ruby, emerald, diamond, and sapphire. So for those who have some background, aluminum oxide, as they have chemistry background, a lot of people don't like chemistry, so you will struggle a bit, just a little bit, with some of these names. But the corundum family is the family of the sapphire and the ruby. They're both aluminum oxide. Okay. Now the ruby is not, I'm not too sure, but from my investigations, the rubies from Nigeria is not as good as the sapphires from Nigeria. Nigeria has very good sapphires that come from Kaduna, very good sapphires that come from the Mambila Plateau, and very good sapphires that come from Boko Haram zone in Borno State, that I'm aware of and that I've seen. So there's opportunities like that in gemstones. Those are primary gemstones. Secondary gemstones, you have like tourmalines, you have like aquamarines, what an emerald is a beryl, okay? So when a beryl is green, it's called an emerald. When a beryl is like turquoise blue, it's called an aquamarine, but it's the same family. So once you have to have interest, first of all, to be able to understand what these things are, then understand their value. So and the secondary gemstones, Nigeria also has a few, like I mentioned, this quartz family, like the citrines, the morganites, and those types of stones we have. Now that's one class, which is the precious minerals. Then you have the metallic ores as well, another opportunity. Within the metallic ores, you then have them classed into your precious metals, like Dr. Adeyemi mentioned, which is your gold and your silver. Those are precious metals. And then your PGMs, I don't know, PGMs means your platinum group metals, your rhodium, palladium, iridium, osmium, that whole family are all collectively called PGMs. We have a lot of those. No, not a lot. We have a few, like rhodium in Osun State, for example, that's confirmed. So some platinum group metals have been proven to exist in Nigeria. The next class will be your industrial minerals after your metallic. Oh, sorry. Within your metallic ores, you have your precious metals. Then you have your minor metals. Minor metals will be in the class of your manganese, your tantalite, and your niobium and things like that. Then you have your base metals also, like your lead, your zinc, your aluminum, your copper, and the rest of them. Almost everything I've mentioned exists in Nigeria, if not everything, in rich deposits. Then you have your class of industrial minerals, which is where you would have your barytes. Sometimes it's good to understand this from a commercial perspective. They say miners forget that investors need to understand the end-to-end. So barite, for example, is what you use as a weighting agent for drilling mud. So people who drill for oil or explore for oil need barite to prevent blowouts. Barite is also used in the glassmaking industry. So you have barite, you have feldspar, you have gypsum, you have kaolin, which is what you use for your China ware. All of these exist in Nigeria under
Wow.
industrial minerals. Then you also have your construction minerals, which is things like your dimension stone that you use for ornamental buildings. You have your laterite, you have your granite. And then finally, you have your energy minerals like your coal, your monazite sands, where you get thorium from, even though that technology is a bit too advanced for where Nigeria is right now. And then you also have your bitumen, and then right now, maybe you might want to add lithium there. So everything I've mentioned exists spread across Nigeria, proven. People are mining those things, maybe not in a sophisticated manner, but they are mining to some degree or the other. So yes, these are the minerals that exist in Nigeria, and this is the opportunity. Now, your question is regards how to be more productive in terms of extraction. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So the value chain has a lot of handicaps. The key enablers are not there. Okay, so I'll give you in terms of governance, for example, at state level, it's very difficult for the states to know who has been issued licenses to come and operate in their states because the licenses are issued in Abuja. Yes, you will get a consent from the community, but at the state government level, they're usually blindsided as regards the full details of those who are mining there. Now, the law in Nigeria, which is the Mineral Mining and Mining Act, in Section 19 of the law states that the Mineral Resources and Environmental Management Committee, it's called MIREMCO, at state level is responsible for managing all of the affairs that has to do with mining at state level and providing quarterly reports to the minister to take decisions on. Now, if you look at the composition of such a committee, they come from other ministries and they're made up of state reps of the ministry. There's no technical support. They can't inspect those mines. They don't have geoscience backing. So basically, they're not given the ability to perform their jobs the way they should. And the gap is reflected in the level of malfeasance in the sector, illegal mining, and a whole lot of those. And of course, that has created a situation where state governors are giving executive orders. You know, mining is on the exclusive legislative list, not on the concurrent legislative list. So you
Right.
shouldn't have a state governor declaring anything concerning mining. But you see that you hear it in the news almost every time. The Bauchi state governor will say this, Plateau state governor says that, because leadership hasn't been able to assert itself in terms of the honorable minister, Alake. The governors here, they don't see him as taking charge, and then they use insecurity, for example, as a reason to shut it down in the states. So there are these kinds of issues at governance level. Then at upstream level, exploration. The exploration environment, exploration funding is very alien to us. A lot of what we do is artisanal and small scale mining, which is
Right.
basically let the artisans be the pathfinders. You move one or two excavators there. If you're lucky, you get a good find. It's not systemic, it's not strategic, it's not based on any mine plan. Usually, this is Nigerian mining. So obviously, if you have investors who are not used to such environments or not used to Africa, it poses a challenge. They're not
Correct.
able to leverage the opportunity, no matter how good the opportunity sounds. So that's in terms of exploration. So there's no data basically to present in those conferences and summits we keep going for. NGSA provides only the most basic data as a geological survey agency, hydrological data, geochemistry data, geophysical data, and geological data. It's not specific to anybody's mining operations. It's not specific to determining the resource that you have. So basically, in terms of exploration, Nigeria is very, 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 very far behind even most of African countries. Now, in terms of the midstream activity, processing, you find out that most what we have is a lot of DSO, which is direct shipment, or you mine it and you bag it and you send it
Right.
it goes out. So once you're mining it and you're bagging it, but maybe the concentration of mineral of interest is high enough to prevent any or to discourage you from bearing any further processing costs, even though processing will add more value in terms of pricing. You find Nigerians being too lazy for that process. So you mine it, once you blast, you mock up with your wheel loader, you start to bag it. At most, The sorters do some sorting. That's Nigerian processing. This will be alien to most people. Chinese like such environments because they know you are archaic and behind. They can take advantage of such a situation, and that's what they're doing exactly. Nigerians are very, very, they want the fastest way. They are a bit impatient. So people who are impatient are very vulnerable to being cheated heavily, especially when it comes to science and technology, because we're not really big on that. You know, our young people are much bigger on the arts than on science and tech, like the Chinese young people. So it's a systemic failure in that regard. Then you look at downstream activity. You find that one of the things that have killed Nigeria is that the ministry and the Nigerian customs don't talk to each other. So they steal the minerals at the port. If you go and look at native report, and I encourage all of you to look at it, you will find out that what the ministry is reporting as export figure in the native report, and this report is available to everybody here so that you can fact check what I'm saying. What native is reporting that customs says is different from what native is reporting that the Mines Inspectorate Department, who's responsible for collecting royalties, says within the same year. And that's because they're not doing any reconciliation. Now, if you look at the body called Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, they should have standards, right? Yes, but when they come to Nigeria, they forget their standards. Nigeria affects everybody. So they start to do reports where it's clear that even a layman in New York picks up the reports for some just a little lower, going a little lower than the surface. You begin to see the discrepancies. How do I know all of this? Because in my job as consultant to the National Assembly, a lot of this, there's just so much I cannot say here. But it's ridiculous what Nigeria permits sometimes. So the reasons why you will not have the kind of industry you may be talking about or people jumping in is because all of these linkages from governance, upstream, midstream to downstream activity work hand in hand. It's like angel of the last mile. You must be able to evacuate those ores too. Where are the rail? If you invested in the mine in Bauchi and you need to evacuate from a port in Lagos, what roads will you put? Are you going to put 30-ton trucks on the road? How many of them to satisfy your off-taker? So all of these systemic issues have nothing to do with really the miners per se. It's just the seriousness of the country, you know, to understand the value of the sector and then to work on those enablers over a specified period of time. So that's my, I'll just leave it at that so that we don't belabor the matter. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Tony. I mean, it was actually important to see, you know, you actually bring in a bit of both the explorative as well as the policy angle to it, and of course even the international community, because sometimes we hear all of these things